Yeah. Good evening, Mapic viewers. I am Shubhranshu. I head the retail practice at JLL, and we are present in 15 offices and work in over 150 cities all across the country. We primarily work on high streets as well as shopping centers, and it is great to have this session of the Retail Real Estate Leadership Series. And with me, I have Shibu Phillips, who is the business head of Lulu Group for the shopping center division. He looks after both operations and business development. Today, Lulu Group in South India has two large centers. The largest of it is 2 million square feet. They are coming up with 3 more centers in the next 6 months. That's a powerhouse of 3 centers in 6 months. You can imagine what's happening in 2021 for them. One of them is in Bangalore, the second is in Trivandrum, and the third is in Lucknow. Together, this is about 4.7 million square feet of newly added retail space, and it'll take them up to 6.7 million square feet. Apart from this, they've got 3 more under construction in various parts of South India. So welcome, Shibu, to Mapic viewers, and let's have a conversation on your views on what's happening. Just to start off, Shibu, I know Lulu Group is both a developer as well as a retailer, and I know in the retail business they're very consumer centric and data centric. So I wanted to start off today's conversation with focus on the consumer. I wanted to know what type of data you analyze and how you analyze the data, and if you could get us some insights on the consumer during the COVID and post-COVID, that would be something which is very interesting for others.
Good evening, Shubhranshu, and thank you, Mapic, for giving me this opportunity, and welcome all the Mapic viewers. Shubhranshu, the first phase was really different, and the second phase actually is now throwing lot of new insights to us. And we saw in the second phase that everyone has agreed with whatever is the situation they are in. And now the life has changed for them, and they've agreed with the change. And we've really seen that consumers are actually now given an opportunity to shop. They're actually using it to the fullest, and they have a planned buying pattern, and they are doing that. It's a great deal. We've seen 32% increase in basket size, and so that's something which noticed that the basket size has really increased for the real premium shoppers, and the premium shoppers actually contribute to us in our and these are premium shoppers who are part of our loyalty platform, a strong loyalty platform which has been running for the last 6 years. And these consumers contribute close to around 40% of our business. And these customers data, when we analyze today, that basket size have increased close to 32%.
That's interesting. So does that mean that all the retailers in the shopping centers, especially the 2 which you manage and operate in Kerala, are back to regular course of business, or is there some gap between 2019 and today?
The recovery has been really good, and when we analyze the July data, the footfalls have increased close to around 350%, and sales have increased close to around 318%. We had in the month of July last year, our mall was operational for 12 days, and this July we were operational for 8 days. But the amazing part is the sales for each of these retailers, each of these categories have some categories have done more than 500% sales increase, and average increase has been close to around 318%.
So that's amazing. It's like retailers are laughing their way to a good business in your shopping center. So has that reflected in this post-recovery, post-lockdown recovery? Has it reflected in you being able to recover some of the losses which you did during the COVID phase by giving discounts or by being shut down? Has it been able to recover some of those lost ground?
Not fully, but obviously, with respect to if, when we go and analyze some of the sales of our F&B retailers, they're actually doing as good as they were doing in a normal month when they were operating. So, from some of the F&B operators who are really, who have really changed themselves and acted according to what is the trends and acted according to the needs, we have already, we've almost recovered the complete rentals. But obviously, that's not the fact with 90% of other retailers. So yes, the pain is still there, but we are supporting all of them still.
Okay. So just coming back, just to stick on this point a bit more, Shibu, I had a question on how does a developer handle these kind of a lockdown where businesses close and partners are in pain and they ask for support and discounts. How does one manage their own finances, and does this change the complete planning process? Because you're in the process of setting up 3 more centers, and then launching 3 centers and constructing 3 more. So because of these, what you've seen in the COVID, the pain and the discounts, has your planning process changed, and what is the prudent planning process for the future, especially from the financial and cash flow purpose?
Well, yes, it has really affected us because obviously, cash generation has almost become zero. Then obviously, like every other developer, you have to approach your bankers and restructure all your mortgages, and also apply for new funds wherever possible. So that obviously has been done. We have also changed the openings for all our malls, considering whatever is the situation. Obviously, there were delays from the vendors, predominantly not because of the finances, but the vendors also had problems with respect to arranging manpower, arranging the infrastructure and the products required. So obviously that delayed, and then we also keenly observed the second wave, and then we wanted the schemes to open up, and we are also looking if the market is ready, then we are ready to launch. So we do not want to get into a situation where we launch and then go for a shutdown. Rather wait for that extra month and see whether everything is opening up. So I think for your question, restructuring has to be something on the top of the table. And we also did we went to our bankers and tried to do whatever possible and extend our goodwill and get whatever possible. And also with respect to operating malls, because we went back on the table and ensured that we have to provide the most hygienic center with all the protocols in place, but still run a tight ship and to ensure that we don't overspend. And because obviously everything was at stake to ensure that wherever possible you could save that extra dollar. But obviously still keeping in mind that the protocols have to be followed to the fullest.
So just from continuing and holding that thought in mind, Shibu, what's the new norm of mall protocols when it comes to hygiene? And do you think this is a permanent feature, and we will have to at least 3 to 6 months in a year follow these kind of rigid health hygiene protocols?
Yes, I believe that till the time the whole country is out of this whole pandemic situation, and people have this doubt, because obviously it will not go away easily. Everyone has suffered, and everyone has suffered, and there is no two thought about it. So it is always playing in the mind of people that am I going into a hygienic place? Is it safe enough? So you will have to always ensure that you have to give back that comfort to the consumer, and for giving it back, I think it was like this hygienic toilet scenario where I still remember when we opened the malls way back in 2003. Those things were something which we gave to consumers, because they were always worried about, am I getting into a cleaner restroom? And I think now that syndrome is not there, and people know that it's a given fact that everywhere it's like that. I think if I compare, and I don't know whether I'm right in comparing, but if I compare to that scenario, you'll have to keep telling people that we have people who are religiously sanitizing every touch point at equal intervals. We have people who are ensuring that the corridors are such wide enough that you will still get your space and social distancing if you want it. And we have seen that the most worried customers are our most big spenders, who have average spend close to 1,20,000 rupees in a mall every month. So these customers actually needs to be comforted. So I think malls actually have a bigger chance in that, because India normally have crowded markets and crowded places across smaller shopping centers, but the malls really have larger common areas and larger food courts. So I think if we follow the current protocols, then we can be a winner. And also our staff, we actually have managed to go and do a good job where all shopping centers ensured that all the staffs are completely vaccinated. And if we keep that, and if we can clearly give that comfort back to the customers, that your people who are serving you or people who are preparing your delicious meals are all hygienic and vaccinated, and give that comfort to the customer, then actually it plays a real it will not play in his mind when he wants to come to us, and he will actually come with that feeling that I'm going to really into a very hygienic place. Many centers that started doing that well, because we were always worried about the hygiene in the kitchen. They started sharing, and I think the Domino's and the McDonald's showed the path by opening up their kitchens and showing it to the consumers. Consumers could see the kitchen open, when they were ordering the food. That comfort. So I think these are the comforts which we gave earlier to prove to the consumer that your kitchen was hygienic. And so I think today also, if you can start giving that back to the consumer, then whatever is playing in our mind, or whatever phobia is playing in our mind by reading through various social media and other articles, will be actually that worry will be off when they come to our centers.
So that's really, really reassuring. I think I'm sure the consumers who look at this episode or hear of this episode will be really comforted for the extra mile you are going on managing hygiene and giving them the service. Has it significantly increased the costs of the common area maintenance, or is it just a marginal increase? Or is just
it's a marginal thing. No. What has happened is we are actually going the extra mile and giving. So other than we have extra personnel deputed because in our state we have to take the contact details of every customer who's entering, and also ask every customer who's entering whether he has COVID vaccination. If yes, check that. Or ask if he is not vaccinated, does he have an RT-PCR certificate? If yes, check that. Or if he is a COVID negative patient, then check that certificate. So you need to also fill that extra column today and also take his details. So there is an extra personnel being deputed for doing that, and also an extra personnel deputed to ensure that all the customers are sanitizing their hands and also checking the temperatures. So there are two personnel at the entrance for doing that dedicatedly. Now, the other things of sanitizing the entire mall in the night after the mall is closed down, or a sanitizing squad sanitizing all the touch points, which is marked in a red point, saying that these are the most common touch points in the mall, and these areas are sanitized, and also using ensuring sanitizing solutions. We also going extra mile and also giving gloves to all the consumers who are entering the mall, which is an option for the customer to take. So they can wear a gloves also when they enter the mall, so that they are confident that if they can change the gloves if they want before they touch anything and all. So obviously, yes, earlier these were costing us more, but now we have taken it as a stride, and we have adjusted costs as I told you. So some costs increase here, some costs we reduce somewhere else, We ensure that the filters of the air conditioning are cleaned very well. So we managed to, we have to take it up in the stride and not hit anything in the camp cost.
Perfect. I think that's a great many innovations which you have followed. I'm sure many people will want to hear from you personally to see how they can, learn from some of these. Coming back to the retailer front, do you think all the retailers have equally jumped back to normalcy, or you see some categories continue to be impacted and struggling to bounce back?
Luggage is one category which is not bounced back today till now completely. We've seen cinema obviously is very badly impacted. We've seen F&B and especially the restaurants, the premium restaurants have not come back fully. We've seen women's ethnic brands not come back fully till now. But I think this time they will come back fully post opening is because of the fact that people have understood, the phobia of COVID is not there anymore. People are going up with their lives, and marriages have started happening, and festivals have been celebrated with all honors. So I believe that it's a period, and I think that much of the business of ethnic wear is now all on e-commerce, because you can see a lot of options for ethnic wear available in all social media platforms. So I'm sure that it's a temporary blip, and which will come back. But I think post the moment the airlines is open, luggage will be something which will bounce back, because what we have seen also, a new thing we have seen is luggage has now become a fashion accessory for most of the travelers who use it also, not just as a key key part of their travel, but also want to show it off, especially the cabin luggage. So we've seen some unique propositions coming in, and various brands showing them good designs. So I think it's only that innovations only by only innovating things you can attract the consumer thing. Cinema, I believe that cinema will definitely bounce back. And what we saw when we opened up last time after the lockdown was that the occupancy was really coming up. But it's only that a blip has happened, and it's that people are still yearning to go back to the theaters and sit and see their movies. So I think these are all temporary blips which will come back very quickly. And we've seen V-shaped. And if you actually believe, other day when we were plotting the recovery, we actually saw V-shaped recovery happening.
That's really right. That's really nice. Any sort of a recovery is the comfort. We being from the industry, we just hope that the industry gets stronger, and all the stakeholders are better off. And obviously, we all want what's good for others. So sticking on to this retailers, what do you think about the food court and the F&B players? What's your view on how their business has been faring? And do you see that they changing some of their models or operations or something like that now as we go forward?
See, I'll tell you what happens is now, there are a lot of these things. We see some, QSR models actually been, sales doing normal sales as what they were doing in their month, obviously reaching close to 90% of their sales. But obviously we see that traditional retailers and traditional local retailers impacted because were not ready for it. Now we see this unique phenomena that the Kerala government has not been allowing people to eat in the food court or in the restaurants for the last 2 months or 3 months. And now they're saying you can eat dining in your car, or if you have an open dining area, which is open to sky, you can still have a dining happening. Obviously, for any shopping mall, that's not possible because obviously, the mall is so big and you don't have much open spaces to manage it. The high street, the highway or the high street, restaurants are doing that very well. But something which we can normally do, if you can talk to all your food court operators and restaurants and ensure to give the comfort to the customer by where the customer can sit in his car and order the food. And if you can also make some adjustments by providing some, sort of a rack which can be placed easily onto the car, inside the car, and those racks are actually indigenously developed by our high street retailers, and they are the most innovative part. And I believe and what I saw among most of the high street high street food court food restaurants is something that they innovate very fast. They come up solutions. And if you look at the YouTube, you can see all this now, where they have developed their table, a small table which can be placed on the window of either side of your car, and between that this comes very neatly placed. The food is kept onto the table, and you can actually have the food, and then it is taken away by the server. So it is possible there. In our situation, it might not be possible because we are not talking about small number of customers. We are talking about 3,000 cars at any given point of time on a busy day at one point. So it might be at least possible that if the customer can come and be in your parking lot, order the food, you serve the food inside the car, he dines inside the car, and he goes away. So if that also is given as a comfort back to the customer will feel nice, because I'm sure that some of the brands which we are talking might only be there in a mall, and that's the reason they are coming to the mall. So and that they should not miss out by not possible that by, because obviously most of the customers don't want to keep ordering food on Swiggy and Zomato or in his house, because they want to really come out. But obviously the current guidelines don't allow them to sit in the food court and restaurant to eat. But at least it can give the comfort to eat in the in the given conditions in the car. I think that opportunity we should not miss.
So this brings out two interesting questions to me, Shibu. I think the first question, and a very important part of the question, is the experience, because in shopping center we all know that shopping center is more about experience and giving consumer experience. Consumer is out because he wants to have a social experience, the experience of meeting other people. Now, if we are saying that food courts will not be allowed, and if we are saying that there is going to be an issue, we can't give the entire dining and food experience. So there's a shortcoming there. I mean, I know it can be overcome soon, but there is definitely a shortcoming which is not happening. And the second point is, we always believe that food court and entertainment are two large footfall drivers for the shopping center. Now, if that is, choked and that is stopped by the government, then we are looking at a scenario when two major drivers are missing. You can call the consumer will come to shop, but two large components of his experience is missing. And that means that with a plethora of other retail options available to him, the mall will not be the only attractive space, because they're missing out these two options, which is the entertainment and food. So then if the retailer is available in multiple locations, they have multiple choices. So how does the mall address this, or is this impacting you a lot? That's the question.
If you ask me, in the given situation, what happens there is, the malls, it all depends on the type of retailers you have in your center. And if you have those unique retailers which is not present everywhere, then obviously that's one reason why a customer comes to you. Now, if you ask us, Lulu hypermarket is obviously a very unique shopping experience, and we still drive shoppers to the mall for that reason. And also what happens here is, now that that under this given circumstances, customers really want to still come and have the experience of we still get a lot of customers even though the food court is closed, but all the food court retailers are doing takeaway and our restaurants are doing takeaway. We still have good amount of customers who are coming and doing takeaway. Because they still want to come out. They want to walk into the property, because they don't want to be in the high street because it is completely occupied. There is no proper parking, and there's a lot of people. And I'm again and again using this word to repeatedly using that. The premium customers are still having the problem that I do not want to visit any location which I feel is not safe. They still consider the mall the safest because they see you doing all of what I'm telling. Malls are someone which are easily targeted for being and they also are the people who observe all the rules by the book. So because we do all that, customers know that we do everything correct. So that's the reason they're still ready to visit. So if we give this option to the consumer, which is also what they're getting outside, where they're sitting in the car and dining, because obviously in the high street also they are not able to eat in the restaurant. They're eating in the car or in the open to sky atmosphere. If we can give that as an extra service, then I think it will still work for them.
So that's the first part of it answered. What's about the second part, the impact, the current impact, and on the business and the footfall in the center?
See, I'll tell you, that's what I've told. The footfalls for me, compared to last July, in this July, grew by around 318%. Footfall is still there. So there is no problem with the footfall.
Shivu, just one question. Is it 2020 July you're talking about? And what about 2019 July?
So if I count with the number of days of 2019, because this 2021 July, I was only allowed to open for 8 days. If I count the average footfalls of 2019, and still more than 2019.
Okay, so that's because touching as a benchmark. I think that's much more robust and comparable, because if you say pre-COVID and post-COVID, you're saying the footfall in post-COVID is definitely more than pre-COVID. That's what you're saying.
Yes, I am again telling you that customers really want to come out. Customers really want to come out into locations where they feel that they're comfortable, they feel it is safe. And because malls have managed to give that outlook outside through right social media marketing, where we have rightly shown our process of sanitizing the malls through videos, and we've shared that the comfort is there with the customers. Customers know that each and every brand also have taken their own ways of disinfecting used clothes, sanitizing their atmospheres. So they understand that all of them have done the right thing. So they're comfortable to come to the mall. It's only that some of the adjustments we have to do to give that product to them. Like today, we are opening up from tomorrow. All the malls have been allowed to open actually from day after. So all the malls are allowed to open in Kerala for the next 14 days. So, but today malls are allowed in Kerala to open and doing online and delivery. So I'm just telling that, when we're talking to retailers, we're saying that open all your outlets, let's do online and delivery. So I'm just saying that if we can adapt to that and do online and delivery, customers are coming to us to, you should, there are a lot of amount of calls we're getting because there's a festival season on the doorstep. 20th is a festival. So there are a lot of people who are ready to shop. Right? So, and we're getting calls asking, when will you open? When will you open? So there is a lot of customer demand. It's only that today, if you want to fulfill their demand, it is through this process by doing online and delivery. So if you can just make those adjustments, I think it is not that the impact will be completely reduced, not there, but impact will be still there, but you can still, minimize some of those impacts.
So just sticking to this question a little bit more, tell us a few smart things which retailers did in the shopping center, to give comfort to the consumer as a result, and they got impacted and positive sales. A few smart things which other retailers could follow in other centers.
So we have, Jack and Jones, who has developed a chamber where they keep all the customer used clothes, trial clothes, and they disinfect them. That they have installed purifiers, air purifiers, which purifies the air commonly. And some of the retailers always sanitize the complete place. They can see a person sanitizing, housekeeping people sanitizing the places, and also again they also some of them have created bins where they say that once the clothes are used for trial, then they don't touch it for 24 hours. So these are all some of the techniques they have used, and blouses are worn by customers. They have displayed very prominently how much amount of people, whether all the staff who are working there are vaccinated or not. So that's been displayed. They religiously ensure that all their staff are use masks all the time, and also they also ensure that gloves are worn by these people. So they also follow the social distancing behavior. So some of the most of our retailers follow these, and some of them have been uniquely doing things to give comfort to the customers. So these are things which we felt that they've gone the extra mile and do then stuff, and I'm sure that they're getting benefits out of that.
So these are brilliant things which are following, and this must be very reassuring to the premium customers to see the length which the retailer as well is moving the extra mile to support hygiene and cleanliness and give them the comfort. So coming back to the thought, and Shibu, we have been talking that e-commerce did get a boost during COVID, and a lot of sales happened on the e-commerce when the physical retailing was closed. How can malls be a part of e-commerce environment, and what are the steps Lulu is taking to see if you can participate in this e-commerce? Like you just mentioned that malls are allowed to deliver in Kerala. That's one part of it. But how to become a part of the larger e-commerce ecosystem? What are you doing about it?
So what is happening is, in this current e-commerce, revolution which is happening, we've seen that malls have to become part of it, either as a fulfillment center or ensuring that as a mall you completely take all your retailers on an e-commerce portal, which is a mall portal, and then ensure that the customers use this portal to shop within your center. And actually, if that was available, then during this current day, we could have made customers come into the portal. All our customers who could have come into the portal and still shop within the portal. For those retailers who have a direct portal, they can still do that, and their delivery can happen from the store, which is still today also happening. But there are a lot of the Kerala retailers who still don't have a good e-commerce platform. So I'm sure that then that would have become a savior for them. So I think we as shopping centers needs to look at this very seriously. I'm sure that we till today have not looked it at, but I'm sure some of our shopping centers have given a thought about it. They have worked towards it, and I know of a couple of shopping centers who tried it also. But obviously, everything needs to have the right time. But in the current scenarios, we always do not know what is there for us in future. Will this continue, or will there be something else to do? So I think what we have gone through for the last 1.5 years gives us an answer that we should be also having the e-commerce platform through which all our retailers, merchandises can be seen by the customers. The customers can choose them and also order them, and the delivery can happen either from the mall store, or if a customer has choose any product from outside, the customer can come and pick it up from the mall. If either of it can happen, it will be beneficial for both of us.
So this addresses the part where you're saying that a shopping center could take all its retailers partners into a common platform, which is like a online shopping mall. But what about the fact that many e-commerce platforms today are changing their model to become local delivery, delivering from the nearest store, and that nearest store could be the shopping center. How are you capturing this phenomenon, or is it not impacting your center? What I mean to say is that if e-commerce today is saying that we will deliver you your product from the nearest store, so that the time of delivery will be 2 hours or 4 hours, then definitely the fulfillment is done at the store, or they will have a local warehouse. So where does a shopping center come into this? Does the shopping center permit it? How do you capture the e-commerce and sales, and how does it add to your business turnover?
So what is happening is in some of our discussion with retailers, we've already captured this part, and and this has been discussed in thorough in all our in the new agreements with our retailers, and we have a mechanism through which any sale which happens within the shopping area of the retailer is being captured in the POS which is there. Now, obviously, the second thing which you asked me is if the sales happens on an online medium and the fulfillment happens from the current store, then how do you capture that? Obviously, in some of these discussions, you have to believe with the retailer, and the retailer needs to capture that in the system and inform us about it, because there is a different mechanism of negotiation which has happened between the developer and the retailer. And in that scheme of discussion, this also is discussed. And I'm sure that the comfort factor has been provided to both of us of the way the mechanism is there. So in such a scenario, we can also understand what has been what has been built from the store and what has been built online but delivered from the store, because everything has to pass through our security, who is also checking the bills to see what is coming in and what is going out.
So you're saying that there is an established model or maybe a newly established model which is going through to capture fulfillment, which is not, which is only delivery and fulfillment of the e-commerce, and that has already started as a process across shopping centers. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So we established a rigid process when this whole food court delivery through aggregators started, and to ensure that every food court delivery was as per the captured in the system, to ensure that that was checked. Obviously, we had a double pronged process, and the process was obviously to check in your ADSR reports, and also to ensure that security also now knows that whatever is going out as a food delivery is having a proper bill from the center. So that's the approach we took in that. The same approach we will be doing for the e-commerce delivery or fulfillment. So I'm sure that, and also we have seen that most of the retailers, once the discussion is through, is also very comfortable to have the process followed, because also it benefits them and ensures that no pilferage happens through their store also.
So basically, does this mean that there will be a change in the agreement which the developer and the retailer goes through, especially from two aspects? The first aspect is fulfillment and fulfillment delivery. And the second aspect is COVID-related terms. Are there some new COVID-related terms which are getting into the agreement?
Yes. There is a COVID-related term which is coming in. All retailers are discussing on those COVID-related terms. It's a healthy discussion which is coming up with which is between the retailer and the developer, which was not there for the last 20 years, which I have not seen. But this current COVID lockdown has got that, and I'm sure that every developer is taking it as per their own rules. And this new e-commerce billing also is the new norm which is getting discussed between the developer and the retailer.
So do you see a lot of disputes going to arise on this as well? For example, for longer number of years, and you have been a veteran, we have seen these differences in the way the CAM, common area maintenance, has been captured by various developers. As a result, there's always a dispute within some retailers and developers, not all developers, because some have standard transparent processes, but wherever there is there is no well laid out process, CAM has always been in order of dispute. It's only now that retailers are accepting that actually maintaining a shopping center is an expensive process, and what are the heads and what are the costs involved. Do you see similar issues or gray areas being present in the online fulfillment discussions between retailers and developers as we go forward? Is that a new bone of contention which will be discussed every time, or it will be easily solved?
See, I'll tell you what happens is, we've seen that when the aggregators started becoming a real force in the total sales generated through every food court outlet, then we had put ways to ensure that there are no leaks happening. And we have seen in our place no leaks happened actually. All data points were completely followed. And today, after for the last 4 years, that comfort is already come into our system between us, and I'm sure that in the start, when e-commerce also becomes a norm, and when e-commerce sales also from the outlet will become a good percentage of your total sales. During the initial phases, both of us will be looking at that each numbers very closely. And once the comfort sets up with both of us, and I'm sure that for them also to have every bill punched and every merchandise, completely, or because all of them have audits, so each merchandise is built and then only picked up. if because they're also interested, then most of them are either the company operated stores or franchisees. It has to be a norm. It is a norm. So it actually helps us. It helps also the mall developer. And I'm sure that from the developer's point of view, we will be very keenly watching all of it. And we don't feel that we'll have any issues like the way the aggregators of the food court sales are managed. We will be able to manage this also.
It's very heartening to know, because that's always been a worry on how the new norm will be and how the new e-commerce and physical retail will sustain together. I'm sure it's going to be a very positive win-win situation for both. Now, just coming back to again the post-COVID scenario of mall design and center design, you must have faced a lot of innovative solutions being needed for COVID and for control and for social distancing. Are some of these designs or some of these modifications which you did temporarily becoming permanent features in the new designs of 3 centers which are coming up?
Yes, it is becoming a new design, because we realize that we always had a first aid room in all our malls, but we realized that we need to have a bigger first aid rooms, because we said that if we had to also do tomorrow also to become a vaccination center, and we realized we started seeing as a vaccination center, and the government also started telling us that you also have to become a testing center. Live testing needs to happen. We need to keep coming and testing some customers to just see what is the positivity rate within your center. So if that is the norm which government also is saying, then we need to have a larger room to take care of that. So we understood that has to be kept. Secondly, we understand that we need to have earlier due to security threats, you had DFMDs and baggage scanners. We also need to have now temperature scanners and sanitizer dispensing solution things, and also place people to enter all the numbers into the system. So we are now today everything is manual, and I'm sure that we are looking into a solution where everything can be entered into the system, where the customer who is giving his data once with respect to that I am so and so and I am COVID, I have taken double vaccine. Then we don't have to, once he scans his image, we don't have to keep asking him again the same question. Sir, where can I see your vaccination certificate? Because we know that this gentleman is already, whose face is already scanned by us. And through this data, we know that he's already shown us this vaccine certificate. Then we don't have to show him and trouble him and ask him the same question again. So we are getting into that, talking to our, developers to give us those solutions. And obviously, the laws with respect to face recognition ensures that because of the privacy issues, we have to be little worry. It's a little. We have to secure the data, and today laws have changed with respect to privacy. So it's only that in some time you will have that also done. So these are some things which we are taking, taking a look at, and ensuring that we capture it into our new malls, because these norms I don't think will go away very well, and we do not know what more holds for the future. So we are taking that into comfort, that into the stride into our new centers.
Just one more thing I was thinking could have definitely changed, that now that you have just mentioned the delivery and Swiggy and Zomato delivering from the center, are you changing the parking or making dedicated zones for these e-commerce players to come and park and pick up and deliver? Is that a new design change happening?
Yes, definitely. And like the way we altered the drive-throughs when we saw that a real good number of customers were actually coming through our Ola and Uber, and we dedicatedly had Ola and Uber pickup points and drop-in points. We know that the Swiggy's and Zomatos actually need to be having a location which is closer to the mall for them to come and pick up the food and go fast. We also ensured that they also need lifts which are able to take them fast to those stores. So that has been also given a complete thought process. We have completely thought about it, and we're giving dedicated parking zones for them to come to the parking lot, park, and go out faster.
That's interesting. That means there's a short span of 18 months and a lot of changes in design, operations, etc., etc. What are the changes do you think? Do you think the pace of developers wanting to grow centers will change? Do you think that you as a developer group, which already has 9 centers planned, are looking at new cities in a different way, or maybe rethinking the real size of the centers or something like that? Is those kind of changes also being thought out?
So I think malls will still be there. We are currently now looking at opening more standalone centers, of half a million square feet, which will be smaller to move with, because we can then have our our retail plus some essential retail into it, with cinemas coming and opening up at more locations, because there are a lot of tier 2 and tier 3 cities which need good shopping venues. And I think that's something we're looking at. And also, if given an opportunity with a good land parcel, if there is a brownfield available, then or greenfield available, then we look at putting up a new center. But then obviously, considering the current scenario, that might take a little more time. But smaller centers are definitely started working for us, and we've already started constructing 3 more as we're talking to you.
So just one more question on that new centers. Considering that there has been a plethora of thoughts which goes out, that open air food, open air restaurant, giving consumers freedom, social distancing, do you think that open air centers will pick up in the country?
It definitely will become also a norm. But the only thing is that in the new scenario, the temperatures are actually becoming a little harsher. And that's going to be because no one is able to know. There's a lot of climatic change which is happening, where the rains have becoming a larger, taking a larger time to go away, and the summers have become too harsher. So I think that that might be only a problem in the if you want to do an open center scheme of things. So we don't have any plan as of now to do any open center, because the climates don't allow us to do that.
Perfect. I think that answers a lot of questions, and I think we covered a lot of innovative topics, Shibu, and I know these are the first ones, so we were able to go into detail in many of the topics. Is there anything else you want to add of things which you think for the future will be impactful for developers or retailers coming from a shopping center developer? You want to add something which you want to share?
No, I think that see, I from my belief that retailers needs to think as also look at what is changing with the new e-commerce coming into play, where everyone is shopping online. And I believe that, yes, I know that on e-commerce today, and after speaking to a lot of retailers, we understand that it is still a value buy which is been happening. And malls are and the fashion which is being sold there is too fashion old. And I know that malls are still is in reckoning because of the latest fashion. But I still believe that some of the categories needs to be really evolving to just be there with the on e-commerce trends, because some of the trends are really when you look at them in the e-commerce segment, it's something which we can I think some of the categories can actually take take a lot of lessons from and evolve in the store, because some of the times we see that those categories are not evolving as what is happening in e-commerce. Yes, fashion is a different thing, but other than fashion, some of the categories they have to evolve. And if you ask me what are they, I think home decor is some category which can evolve, and though home decor actually didn't lose sales in the first thing, and but then there's a lot of evolution we can see customers getting from the online platform, which is not available in the in our brick and mortar stores.
So you definitely see there is a scope of improvement for retailers per se, and then also you also feel that developers will have to walk the extra mile going forward just to, make the consumer comfortable and continue to make the malls a safe place.
Developers needs to do that. So we've seen that happening with in the airline segment, that some of the airlines actually did extra, and all of us are comfortable traveling there. Same way, developers, if they do that extra bit, and if that attaches to the name of the developer, then you will always have customers coming to your shopping mall.
That's great, Shibu, and it's just a lot of insights. Thank you very much for being candid and sharing a lot of thoughts. Thank you, Mapic India viewers, for being patient and giving us the time to discuss this out in detail with Shibu. This is the first episode, and we'll come back with many more episodes. Thank you, Shibu.
Thank you, Subhranshu. And a lot of questions which was thought-provoking for me, and I believe I've also, when talking to you, understood some of them, and I think I also have made my checklist in my mind to improve some of the things when I was talking to you. Thank you, Mapic, for giving me this platform to talk to your viewers, and I wish all of you, to have a safe shop in a safe environment, and all of us should. We all hope that these things will end and we'll be back to our normal days very soon. Thank you.